call legends is Kyle, but they're still not here yet, and it's after 6:30, so I will lead towards Crystal. Where's the flag?
Behind you.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, I thank you all for coming. Our first order of business is acting on the minutes of the 7th regular meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're good. Any errors or omissions? Minutes of the 7th regular meeting? Seeing none, I will move to accept them as presented. All right. Next is the report of the board chair. Really don't have much to say tonight. I try not to have much to say most any night. The only thing I will say, though, after I said that, is reluctantly, at our next meeting, we're going to try going all digital. But there is a curse to this.
You want to precurse it.
No, it's a curse. It's not a pre-curse, it's a curse.
Where's my candy?
Okay, we're only going to go one way or the other, folks. Either completely digital for everything, or as we have been. So we're going to do a test meeting on the 18th. We're not going to do a test meeting for budget time. So in other words, these packets wouldn't be no more. There'll be a little laptop here that we all get to hide behind and play and have breakdown and call for help on it. So we're going to give it a try. But I'm not going to ask the administration to try to deal with two different processes or anything like that. We're either going to go all in or all not. So we're going to go on the 18th. We're going to give it a try, see how it works for that night. After which, we're going to take a official board vote of some sort, and we're going to decide if we're going to run with it or not. But that's the battle plan. Okay? For the curse of technology.
Keep an open mind.
Oh, that sucker closed a long time ago. But anyways, so other than that, that is the report of the board chair. At this point, we'll open it up to public comment, if anybody wishes to comment at this time. All right, I'm not.
She is, she'll be here.
I'm sorry, you were asking.
Oh, yeah, I asked if anybody wishes to so we do have a public comment. All right, here we go. Our board meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying out the official business of our schools. It is important to note that meetings of the board are open to the public, however, they are not public forums. At each full meeting of the board, time is allocated to provide opportunities for citizens and employees to express opinions and concerns related to the matters under consideration by the board. These comments shall be within the guidelines set forth in Board Policy BEDH, Public Participation at Board Meetings. Copies of the policy are available here and on the district's website. I would like to highlight the following. The chair is responsible for recognizing all speakers. We ask that speakers identify themselves by sharing their name and town of residence. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to express their views. Speakers should direct all comments to the board, specifically the board chair. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to the opinions of the public that relate to school and education matters. It is not intended to be a conversation or a debate of issues. We know that the school-related issues can be emotional, but we ask that civility is maintained. We will not permit profanity, gossip, defamatory comments, shouting at one another, or comments that disparage or attack individuals or groups. The board is faced with many important issues. For the sake of efficiency, the board discourages duplication or repetition of comments. The board will not permit complaints or allegations against staff members. We certainly care about these concerns, but they are personnel matters which the board is not permitted to hear in public. If there are complaints against staff, these will be handled appropriately through our complaint policy, KE. To reiterate, this is just the highlights of key points. Please refer to policy BEDH for a complete description of our public participation policy. So, anybody here would like to speak this evening? Please, Crystal. And again, just to keep in the formalities, name and town, we all know, but still.
It's right here on my paper. Crystal Nicholas from Green. We have again before the board the issue of Title IX protections and to whom will award these rights. Applying a lens of critical thinking to this discussion, I am met with an unsolvable riddle. If males identifying as females wish to use female-only facilities, as that aligns with their image of their gender identity, are they in turn deprived of their assumed female rights? Because remember, they wish to be with the females only, when other males, the ones that they didn't want to share the facilities with, when the other males temporarily experiencing gender fluidity also wish to use the same female space. The males who now identify as females have fashioned an image of themselves that all must respect. Do not respect this is fringe, we are told. And here is the othering and the marginalization by the very folks who bark inclusivity and shower love and support upon only one group. We do not have to respect females who have not created an image of themselves, but are just themselves. For these females are fringe. They are the nutty others, likely anti-vaxxers or some such relics of human debris. Some on this board, a few presumably female themselves, would rather destroy women's rights to satisfy men's fetishes. To them, the female sex is but a costume, a mask, if you will, that can be donned at a man's pleasure. These are the folks that will deny biology to avoid othering. These are the folks that cower to be called fringe. These are the victims of the weaponization of empathy that would transform all scrutiny into bigotry. The Maine Human Rights Commission interprets and applies disparate impact theory, a core feature of Maine's discrimination law. Even an anti-discrimination rule cannot be implemented in a way that produces discriminatory effects against another protected group. Yet we have and intend to continue to elevate the rights of some beyond the rights of others. The competency crisis has arrived.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Jimmy Giles, please.
Thank you.
First of all, the opt-in to the survey, I think is a good idea, seeing where my son was already harmed with it yet last year, and I had him opted out, and he came home and told me everything was on the survey. I didn't push the issue because I didn't feel that his teacher, well, first of all, I didn't get an answer on what the opt-out entails, on what, violates that and whatnot, so I didn't want to, push any harm on the teacher or anything, so I'm sure she didn't mean anything by it. But like I said before, something really should be done about the opt-out because it doesn't work. So I really hope the surveys are an opt-in. The Title IX, I mean, why? Why would you want to protect females? Why would you want to protect female spaces? I mean, they're only females. I guess I could claim I'm a female, follow one of you girls into the bathroom, say, oh, I'm not a female the next day and be a guy because some stupid word in the Maine Human Rights Act of identity is just interpreted in such ways that aren't even fathomable. It don't make no sense where lawmakers can just put in these words and everybody has to kowtow to all that stuff, fetishes, like Ms. Nichols said. So it ain't right. It ain't right that somebody like Ashley, or Bree, or Jen, or Crystal should have to, lose their right as a woman. And you guys are women, you're old. These are children that, it's not right, so, I think the common sense thing would be to do is, go with common sense in that I as a male have my own rights, females have their own rights to personal spaces. If the lawmakers wanted to make a law saying that murder was legal, would you all say, oh, it's legal, they passed the law, I guess we can kill each other? Some things are common sense and some are not, And, hey, use your own common sense, you may disagree right now, maybe later on you'll be like, wow, this was a stupid idea that America did to these children, so, just a little something to think about, while you make these decisions, for our kids and our community, where 80% of the community is opposed to this stuff, whether they show up here or not. They're watching, they know what people do and what they think, so, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else who came in, do you have any interest? Was that okay? So, no, all right. So we'll move on from public comment, thank you all. That takes us to communications, and I believe I have one, or did I have two?
Two.
I have two. We got their donations, what is that? First one is the donation from Auburn Assembly Social Order of, what's that?
Bosent?
Deoson?
Bosent?
Boson?
Bosent, nice.
Auburn Assembly Social Order Boson, 262, in the amount of $500 to Green Central School's backpack program. I am going to actually ask, what is that group? I do not know.
I'm not 100% sure. I think that they're like the auxiliary group to, I think, another group. And I'm not sure if it, I don't know if it's the Masons or who it is. But I do know that I think we have at least one or two folks here who are affiliated with that group and are very interested in helping.
What's your mom's song background? Trying to remember that.
Oh, it's one, it's the same thing. It's the same thing on both papers, it's not two things.
Oh, it's only one thing?
I thought it was, it's the same thing.
Peter, could you spell that, please?
BEAUCEANT. There are a lot of side groups associated with the Masons,
That's, I think,
so it could very well, and that sounds like a word that I'm familiar with over the years, so, but I don't company. All right, this is just an acknowledgement, so, but, that takes it to communications superintendent.
So I'd like to report a resignation, Diane Dorsey, school administrative secretary at Tripp Middle School. She's been here a very long time, and she is moving on in her career, which is good for her. So effective yesterday, December 3rd. A retirement, Joe Conroy, custodian, evening custodian at the high school, effective February 27th. We have a transfer, Lisa Driscoll, custodian who was at the high school, is now transferring to Green, evening custodian. That began right before vacation, right before Thanksgiving. Michelle Perry, office support assistant at Turner Primary, will be taking the administrative secretary position at Tripp Middle School, so that happened quickly. So the Tripp Middle School secretary position is now open. And then we have hired an Ed Tech 2 at Turner Elementary School, Kelly Fortin. She began on December 1st. And we have added 2 school substitutes, two folks who will cover Green, and then one of those people is also signed up for pretty much everybody but the high school. And then, I just want to say, Dave Coburn has done a great job of doing some recruiting. We have hired 2 students to serve as substitute custodians, and they have been working, they typically are working about 4 hours after school in various schools, and so far, things are going really well. So, I'm very excited. He worked collaboratively with the JMG teacher to find students and then support them as they move into the work world. That's what I got.
Anybody have any questions for Karen? Kyle and I are playing peekaboo with the crutches. No, it's fine.
Just don't give them to Kyle, that's all I'm saying. Kyle does not get the crutches.
Sorry, Kyle.
Okay, take my crutches. Do it on camera.
All right. We have no adjustments to the agenda above, actually we do, yes. We are deleting, thanks to, this is a Mother Nature deletion. Where is it?
10.3.
10.3, reject the executive session regarding negotiations. Mother Nature does not want us to negotiate right now, so it's coming. So, I suspect we'll have that in the future. And 10.3 and 10.4 are now taken off the thing because there was no.
Yeah.
I heard.
Okay, okay.
All right, so other than that, I don't think there was any adjustments, right? No, I don't think so. That takes us to committee reports. Ashley, you're up.
We did not meet. Our next meeting is on the 18th, 7 a.m. at Central.
And that takes us to Alex.
We did meet tonight. We got about halfway through what we needed to.
But, first thing we talked about, we met with a few folks from the Leeds community. They're kind of, spearheading a effort to use there's an old school bell that's in the basement at Leeds, that was on the old schoolhouse in another part of Leeds and got put in the basement. And the 225th anniversary of the town is coming up this year. And they would like to incorporate the bell with a replica of the monument on Monument Hill and erect an area in front of the school that would pay tribute to the bell, the monument, and possibly lead into some other stuff in the future. They've applied for a grant that they're gonna hear about later this month. A lot of the material and labor is gonna be donated by, I forget the gentleman's name.
Yep, I said the name,
Barclay?
Tim Barclay.
Barclay. So Tim Barclay was here. He's gonna be doing a lot of the woodwork. He's a retired contractor and engineer. So he gave us some plans. I think we could probably get to you guys if you wanna see them, but it's a very nice gazebo type display that's gonna have the bell and a replica of the monument that's up on the hill. And we all thought it was a great idea. We're gonna let Carrie and Dave go forward and talk to Shannon to make sure that the space at the school is appropriate for what they wanna do. And it sounds like they're gonna go forward with it regardless of the grant, because they're gonna get so much of it donated, or, just do for free, pro bono. So that's, it was a nice thing.
They will be they're seeking for us to accept the donation.
Right,
to
and yes,
accept it as a
afterwards,
donation.
it
So
would
we
be,
would own
it
it.
would be under the ownership, quote unquote, of the district, so we would maintain it after the fact.
Do we know, is it Nebraska?
It is not.
Okay.
That was,
Had that exact conversation.
yes, it is not.
It's probably safe if it's not a brass
Yes.
bell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, so they're gonna, it looks really nice. Second thing, we spoke to some folks from the town of Green. They were contracted by the state to update their emergency management type plan, of which they don't have one. And they're looking to us to allow this school to be used as a disaster shelter of sorts. So, we kind of okayed that. They're gonna go through a couple more parts of their process, but the county would send out a consultant to decide if the school even qualified as a potential site. And then it would be listed as a disaster shelter for the town of Green. And then, related but unrelated, we spoke about retroactively adopting the Androscoggin County Hazard Mitigation Plan, which the district is not currently a part of, but in order to get our FEMA grant for the generator at the high school, FEMA has said that we need to be part of this hazard mitigation plan. And so hopefully that will help get the grant moving for the generator. Cassandra at the central office is on the case there. Then got an update from Jim for transportation. The last employee that they had in the process of getting their license got their license, bringing us up to 21 drivers. Still one or two short from being in great shape, but that was the last of the employees that were in the works of getting their license, so that was good. Then we talked about the bus fleet. We have 31 buses in the fleet currently. We use 20 for runs. 4 need to be sold because they're obsolete, and we have 7 that are nearing that designation. So the upcoming budget request, as we get into that process, is going to be to increase our bus fleet to possibly 2 full-size buses and 1 minibus over the next year or 2. And that's about it. We're going to have another special meeting next week.
Obsolete mean they're no longer gonna pass muster?
It sounds like 4 are rusted beyond any inspection.
Will no longer get a state inspection.
Right. And then 7 are in that range of various states. So,
Can't remember, was it last year that we cut one of our buses?
yeah, we went to,
talked
we
about
did
that,
2
yes.
vans, yeah.
Yes, we only bought one because we used the money to buy 5 vans.
Well, we had 2 vans in already, but we cut 1 to get 3 additional vans because we had a great need for them.
The vans were in worse shape.
But now the buses are hauling. Teresa?
Can I ask the date of the meeting, just for the minutes? You said next
December
week,
15th,
Yep, the 15th.
December 15th.
yes,
And are you still holding the meeting on January 8th as scheduled?
Yeah, I
yes.
think so.
Okay.
And that's,
On the 15th.
High noon?
not afternoon.
And this is just also, so remember, all public are welcome to these subcommittee meetings.
We had quite a big turnout today.
I know, actually, well, you guys need a bigger room.
We did today.
We don't normally, today we did, but normally we do
I
not.
walked by the door and go, wow.
But it was a good meeting.
There you go.
It's
That's
good to have community members there.
There'll be like nobody at the next
Just
meeting.
not down the road.
Anybody else have any questions for Alex or the PTV committee? All right, well, thank you, Alex, and thank you, gentlemen and ladies. That takes us to Crystal. You're up, madame.
Yes, we have not met. Our next meeting is December 18th. We have bold business here for ACDC, and on the consent agenda is the first reading acknowledgement of the policy KF, which is use of school facilities, and the subsequent pieces that go with it.
Anybody have any questions for Crystal? Not seeing any?
Peter,
Yes.
has the committee reviewed my amendments to ILD yet?
Not yet. I believe Teresa and I are meeting now the
Yes,
11th.
next week.
And ILD will be on that discussion for hopefully the next meeting in January.
Thank you.
Bree?
So the curriculum committee is back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back for Teresa, right? So it's been a little bit of a hiatus there while she was wearing many other hats, but we are excited to be back and working. So tonight's meeting was just a quick recap of our strategic plan, so we could kind of get ourselves grounded back into our work for the year, to be able to see what the strategic plan says in regards to curriculum and instruction, because that's what grounds our work as curriculum committee, is the strategic plan. We also looked at the curriculum development process, what has gone on in the past, what did we do last year again, and what's our work looking like for the coming year. So this year, up for discussion will be the English language arts and the science standards. And in January, we will get an overview of the ELA standards prior to hearing what the teachers are doing with working through those standards, so that we can have some background knowledge on what the main learning results are specifically, to make our decisions and suggestions to the teachers as they plan their work. And then we meet again January 8th.
Does anybody have any questions for Bree of the curriculum committee? Thank you very much. Crystal, you're up.
We're slackers.
I know. A little bit of snow, you go, I know one.
Yeah,
I was.
our first meeting, the association needed a little bit more time to gather things and collect, and the last one was the snow day. So we're meeting next Tuesday and Thursday, and the following Tuesday, and
So Thursday is just the board committee, but the two
the other,
Tuesdays are
right,
with the
are with the
association.
association. So we'll be busy.
Good.
But by the time we get to Christmas, we'll miss one
One,
meeting. We
right,
will have
we're
gotten
making it up.
2 instead of the 3 that we had hoped.
We're
So.
optimistic. No more Sundays.
Don't jinx it.
Mr. Downer,
No, students love snow
Not
days.
on
It's a
Tuesdays.
positive thing.
not on Tuesday.
All right, gentlemen, student representatives report. How's things at the high school?
School doing is good overall. People were excited about that it's almost winter break. And they were really happy about the snow day on Tuesday.
See, I told you.
Excellent, excellent.
Winter sports have started up, including hockey. The first semester is almost over. It's going to be ending in 6 weeks of school. Like, we're in school. And Garrett has some points about what Heat Club has been doing in school.
So Heat Club has just recently donated over $500 and gave a food donation to the Turner Food Pantry. All the money that was raised for this was collected at the craft fair, where by selling candy grams for teachers in the district. Along with that, Key Club recently did Thanksgiving basket food drive. They collected Thanksgiving food items and turkeys to help local families. The baskets went out the Monday before Thanksgiving. They also recently did the penny drive where they raised $200 from October to November. And this was for the Pennies for Patients program, which was a school-based fundraising program for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society that encourages students to collect spare change to fund blood cancer research and patient support. And finally, JMG and Key Club are teaming up for this December to help support RCAM, which is the Rural Community Action Ministries in Leeds. RCAM is a nonprofit organization dedicated to eradicating rural homelessness and hunger. And both groups are working to collect donations for the Giving Tree event, and tags have been created for wish list items, and monetary donations will be collected. That's all.
Thank you very much, John. Teresa?
I was trying to capture everything, so if you have written notes that you don't mind that,
We
okay.
we have a doc. I can share.
Oh, if you want to share.
I can just share the doc with you.
Thank you both. I appreciate that. I want to get things accurate and, it's here, I'll write it down. Sorry, pause because we need to get some.
Sure.
No.
Here's a question for you.
I was just curious, how many students are in the Key Club at this point?
I think it's over 30. I'm not sure the exact number, but there's a good.
That's pretty good involvement, that's great.
Great, that's awesome.
Where are the tags, the giving tags?
I would have to ask.
If you wouldn't mind sending that, and I'll just share it with board members,
Did not
that'd be
sorry?
great.
lobby as well.
I can report out on that.
Oh,
Okay.
there we go. Mr. Shaw knows the answer. Amazing.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for the young men?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys very much for coming and participating. All right. Principal Conway, what's up?
You mentioned your Coins for Cause. We just did that with TPS as well. We did it with the parent-teacher committee. And the group decided, there happened to be one of the kids at the last meeting, and it was her idea, it was a 4th grader, for us to have to kiss a pig with whatever school won, the principal would have to kiss a pig. So I was very nervous because the 4th grade was really into it, but TPS won. So that was.
Did you donate to TPS?
I just feel like, you can put like all this change. And I was just looking to see if I could find the amount, but I don't have the total there. And then just one thing I wanted to share, because it was a new position for the district, not this year, but the year before. And but it's a special ed coordinator positions, and it's often a shared position. And the reason I want to bring it up is it's been so invaluable, especially for TES this year, just the work that our person does. And she's at 2 different schools. She's at TPS as well. But she is like a true team member who has made a lot of we have a lot of unique situations sometimes that come up with some of the students, and just she has the expertise. Whenever I've needed her student observation, she will come, when she's in the building, but she'll come immediately, or if she's not in the building, she'll set it up as soon as possible. And she just goes above and beyond it. It really has made a huge difference in some of the work we're trying to do with helping our students grow. And I just wanted to share, because I don't know if we always follow up with some of those new positions that are newer, but then it's made a direct impact on the kids and helping them to make some better choices, having heard input and feedback. So that's it for me.
Well, thank you. And we have a question.
I mean, your behavior graph looks great. I mean, with your behavior down, I mean, is that, again, is that noticeable in your office? Only looks like 1 a day at this point?
This week was a little different. So maybe not right now. But I would say, yes, it has made a huge difference. And even when we look at it, it's more that it's not, the things that I feel like you're noticing are it's more we're able to catch things sooner and faster. And a lot of that has to do with having that community students position. We're able to kind of see things, looking more at patterns as a whole, and we changed the way that we do. We used to have just our PBIS meetings, and that team met by itself, and then we had our team leader meetings, and that team met by itself. but once a month now that group meets together as well. So that's, like, having that collaboration in addition to the role of the Dean of Students has made a huge difference for us.
That's great.
Ashley?
Are you hearing any feedback on parents preferring student-led conferences over the original parent-teacher conferences? Or, because feedback I hear is not super positive, and that parents kind of wish they just had that more one-on-one with a teacher and that their child was not there. What's the thought behind keeping it as student-led conferences?
It's a district-wide piece that we have, but that is something that does, like, it comes up often, like, because I think we hear both sides. Like, some love it, some want something different. We do offer some one-on-one, like, sessions that are available, but I think part of it too is some of that communication, and also knowing that just like we have these student-led conferences, sometimes parents need to meet without their kids there, and we are available at any time to meet. Like, so sometimes we can have meetings, it doesn't have to be on that day. If we need to have like a meeting with a parent or something like that. And I think that's the piece, like that was what we were just talking about as a staff, is making sure that's really clear and communicative to parents, because the conferences then are more of like a celebration or a showcase of what the students are doing, that they can tell you what they're doing and why, but then also knowing that there's extenuating circumstances where they need more of a one-on-one, and it needs to be more than like a 10 to 15 minute conference, more often than not, like when a parent needs that time. So we were just talking as a staff about making sure we communicate that with parents.
For the parents to know they have an option to request a one-on-one.
Yes,
first.
and it doesn't have to be like we have to wait until March when our next conferences are. It can be, if something's going on now, it shouldn't be we need to wait. It should be like, let's schedule our next week or two. So that's the piece.
Is that something parents just kind of generally know they can request, or is that something that's really only offered if, on the teacher's perspective, they feel that they need the parent in there for a one-on-one?
So I think right now it's more when the teacher, for student-led conferences, the communication that goes out, it has it right in there, like how would you like to have your meeting. But as far as it going from at any point, that's the part that we were talking about, is making sure, because oftentimes now, it's more often, not always, but more often than not, it's like the teacher reaching out because of something. So that was what we were talking about, is like just making sure that we communicate that to parents at all times, because sometimes something may be going on, but it may not be rising. Behavior we see at school may look very different, but it doesn't mean it's not impacting. So just making sure we communicate that out to parents so they can do this.
I just want to clarify one thing. When we do that, not necessarily in lieu of a student doing the conference, because we still want the student to walk through that experience of sharing and talking about their learning. It's a growth opportunity for them. So it would be in addition to.
And that's, because one thing that comes up is sometimes it might be like something going on with the family, and parents upbringing or something like that. They don't want to have that conversation with their child. And so that's like the piece that we're saying, like those are the conversations that we want to make sure that parents know. If they do feel like if there is something that we need to have those conversations about, we shouldn't be waiting until conferences. We want to make sure that we're reaching out and that parents feel comfortable to reach out to talk to us and set up those meetings at any time. And we do have them, but I just want to make sure it's, what we were talking about is making sure that it's more, except some parents are not going to be like, they just don't do that. So making sure it's more accessible to all parents to know that solution.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you very much. And Principal Shaw, take us away.
So to answer the question about the gift tags, Ms. Korchesny has a Christmas tree outside of bedroom, outside of the classroom. I know she has one on, but outside of her classroom that has the tags on it. So that's what the tags are. Right outside the cafeteria where everybody has to walk by. That was hilarious. So I wanted to just also mention, I think the guys have mentioned it a couple of times, the fall musical is happening next week, next Friday evening and next Saturday matinee. So if you're interested in that, Seussical Musical is going to be happening in the auditorium next weekend. The fall, we had an interesting situation this year in which the fall season and the winter season overlapped. And it caused some growing pains to get things started for the winter season, but we got things up and running. And we will have basketball, hockey, boys hockey starts tomorrow. Girls hockey started last week. So things are moving forward. And it snowed, so they'll be skiing in no time. And the other thing I wanted to just reiterate from my report, it's hard to put it on in a narrative, but I had the opportunity to travel to Boston with the sophomore class prior to Thanksgiving. I can't remember the date, it was the week before. We took 3 coach buses down to Boston and met up with some tour guides and walked the Freedom Trail in Boston. The 10th grade history class is getting ready to start the Revolutionary War. The tour guides were awesome. They were all dressed up in their period attire and walking around downtown Boston, went from Boston Common all the way over to Revere Square, and then went back to Quincy Market for lunch before we came home. So it was an all-around excellent experience, for my opinion. You don't necessarily get to understand this until you see it in action, but we had students who clearly don't find themselves in an urban setting very often. As we're driving through town, we had to take the bus from Quincy Market across to Boston Common, and one would think that's an easy thing to do, but not with a coach bus. So we were cutting across, and there were just kids like in the window taking pictures of the building, and like, that's just a building, guys. I'm not sure we're taking a picture of, but they were very excited and very engaged with the tour from start to finish. And the types of experiences you're not going to get around here, and you run into some characters when you're in Boston, and we ran into a couple of characters while we were doing our tour on a public street. So it was a great experience, and the trustees helped to support us with that. Much appreciated on their part, and I think the students appreciate it as well. So I tried to capture that in writing it up, but I figured I'd just mention it once.
Okay. Do we have any questions for?
So suspension behavior, we're up 50% from last year. Can you talk to that?
I think that we continue to have some students that are struggling with vapes in restrooms. And during this span of time, these dates here, we had 3 individuals that were involved in an altercation, so that ended up fast. I don't know that business is super more brisk than it would have been last year, but I think we're trying to do a better job of resolving some of that vape stuff that's going on in the bathroom. And we also have like 50 more kids in the building, so that adds a little bit to it.
Thanks.
Just on that note, you said, so you're trying to enforce the vaping a little bit more, or is it just?
We're trying to track it. We're coordinating with the detector going off and cameras and trying to hone in on it. And I think we're getting more efficient, I think, over time.
Okay.
It's not an easy process.
It is not an easy
Having done it
process.
myself, it is a very time-consuming process.
But it's a matter of being efficient. I think that we're getting better.
Professor Sneakers. Just out of curiosity, was this an abnormality when the 2 sports seasons overlapped, or was it because of, what was the reason behind it?
The reason behind it was football played.
Just so basically playoffs?
And in the past, it's been another week later that winter sports have started, and this is calendar-wise, it just was this way, and leave it that way.
Just the trip to Boston, is that every year sophomores go, or is that just a one-off?
So we have got, let me think, it's been a couple of years that we've taken a trip down. We've had classes we took down to Salem. At one point, we took 9th graders to Salem. And with a change in the order in which students are taking history classes, so now 9th graders are doing a world history class. Salem doesn't make a whole lot of sense in that context, so we've moved it to 10th graders, and I believe it is something we'll continue to do.
Anybody else have any questions for? All right, so yeah, thank you very much. Oh, we do? I'm sorry, I didn't see Jen.
How
Oh,
did
sorry.
the career fair go?
Curriculum went great. We had over 40.
I saw you reported about it. I know that, I heard great things about
We
it.
had over 40 vendors that were there. Students spent a lot of time talking with the vendors. I just walked around to watch them have their conversations. The folks from Pepsi were a big hit because they had samples. There was a good representation of colleges and like direct hire type situations. All military branches were there. And in talking with a couple of the vendors that were there, they were pretty impressed with the questions that kids were asking them. So overall, a big hit, and it worked out well because we are now backing it up with the craft fair. So the craft fair was the next day, so we get the gym all set up with the tarps and stuff, so they can do it one day and not have to do it twice.
Thank you.
I'm going out of my neck, Jen. I just can't go
No,
quite
it's
that- I
okay.
can't go quite that far. All right, thank you. All right, that takes us through that. Assistant Superintendent, what do we got going on?
So I have no grant updates for you. Start with
Started
that.
off with.
But I do have some other updates. So for curriculum work, Bree mentioned it, the curriculum writing team will be meeting on December 15th to focus on elementary standards and common assessments. And on January 9th, the full K-12 team will meet to focus on the pre-K-12 standards. I want to note that the pre-K teachers have already selected their essential skills. They did some grade level work last winter and spring to select those from the MELDs, which are the pre-K standards. For professional development, on December 12th, the K-8 instructional coaches and 1 or 2 teachers of math per school will again participate in training. They did this in November. With our vendor for illustrative math, which is Imagine Learning, is the name of the company. The work that this team did in November is already being carried over. I know at Kristen's school, the teacher and the instructional coach worked together to present some of their new learning to the teachers of math, and we're going to continue to do that at all 5 of the schools that have illustrative math. And then on January 26th, the same trainer we've been working with virtually will be on site for half day here at Green to work with the Green staff, and half day at TES to work with the TES staff. And the few teachers that we have from TPS and Leeds that are teaching math this year will join at schools. So half the day will be with our trainer, and the other half will be focused work time, which will be led by the instructional coaches. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Teresa? Thank you, Raj. Super Smith.
Hi.
Hey.
I want to highlight the head custodian at Tripp Middle School, Linda Cloutier. The administration at the middle school nominated her for an award through the Department of Education, which I guess is a nationwide thing. It's RISE, Recognizing and Inspiring School Employees. So they nominated Linda, and I'll just read a little bit about what the nomination focused on. That she's kind and patient with everything that she's done. They identified her as a quiet leader among the staff. School is well run. She's always on top of things, looking for ways to improve the school. She connects with students, and especially those who struggle, and talks with them about how their learning will help them in the future. Students find purpose and connection to school through helping her with projects. She was named in the top 10, and I think there's a lot of nominations, so I think it's not insignificant to be in the top 10. So I just wanted to say out loud that Jana Mates talks all the time about how important she is as a head custodian, and I think just in general, the work that Dave Coburn has done to bring head custodians into the district, to sort of have people who own schools, I think Linda's a great example of how really that's benefited the school. So wanted to share that with you. Got some good news. So last time I talked to you about the October 1 count and how we were down about 83, 85 students in our free and reduced lunch, socioeconomically disadvantaged. The state is sort of doing their work on their end once it gets submitted, and they have found 15 other students who were not who are identified either through SNAP or main care, but were not associated with our district, but they're our students. So in the data cleaning, those 15 students were assigned to us. So instead of being behind by 83, we're only down by 70. So it's good news. Bad news that, you know, there's students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, but in terms of, they are our students, we want to have them count for us to help with our, so I got that news, that was good news. Tri-Town Select Board meeting was right before Thanksgiving. I know Ashley, Peter, Jenny were there.
That was it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. I feel like those meetings each year that I attend, I feel like there's always a sort of rapid fire, like, I heard this rumor, and that was true this time. So, oh, Ashley was there as well, sorry. Did I say Ashley?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I couldn't remember. But it was like, please, all the rumors, bring them, say all the rumors. So we were able to clarify.
And there are
some
lots of rumors.
It was great. I love it because they're not going to email me. That's for sure. So it was really helpful for that they were willing to ask those questions. They asked some financial questions. We provided some updates. So actually we'll forward that to you, the background information Gabby and I were able to get to answer some of their questions. I sent that out yesterday, I think, to what I do is Gabby and I will take the notes. Actually, Gabby does a better job taking notes. I can't talk and write at the same time. Gabby writes them down, then we'll get that information, and then I send them to the town managers for them to share with their select boards. So, so I thought it was another good, productive meeting. And then just one item on the two items on the consent agenda. You have a Tech 3 job description. There's one, if you looked at the electronic version of that came to you, one thing is a little bit different. Martha just forgot to bold the essential functions. Those were updated, but they weren't bold. So no words changed, just noting that part has been changed from the previous. And other than that, I think there's one word that's different on the job description. The job description is really determined by what they're allowed to do by the state in terms of what their role is in an educational setting legally. So there's not a ton of change on that, but I wanted to just note that. And then we have done a revision to the school closing procedures. So to have a conversation about that, my recommendation is just somebody asked to remove it from the consent agenda so I can talk about that when we review it. And that's it. Because you've already talked about the other part of the consent agenda. Chris already talked about the other item.
So if anybody have any questions for Carrie about the consent agenda items, is a good time to ask about them. Not seeing any? Okay. Is this any change?
That's just no, it's just informational.
Showing the budget timeline, no changes from what we originally talked about. I just saw it in
Yeah,
the
I think Martha
packet.
just put it in there just so you have an open reminder.
And I'll take this opportunity to say as well that the Tri-Town it went well. There was a lot of concerns about the buses in our district and the rumors
vans.
about buses. Rumors and
vans.
vans, yes.
Buses and vans.
And I think that the buses you drove out on, a lot of people were curious where they were going in this town. Yeah. Really want to know where those big fancy buses were going. So, all right. That takes us to the consent agenda, and I will we'll move to take out 8.3 and make that into 10.2.5.
Second.
Do we have to do it?
No, somebody just needs to request
requested
it.
take
Nice
out.
try, nice
Yeah.
try.
10.2.5.
Yeah, right, very end of our meeting before the executives. 10.3 and 10.4 we're taking out, 10.5 is executive.
10.2 and a half is what I think.
Yeah.
it means.
I know, but I'm writing when it's due. We'll let Marty figure it
All right, so do I have a motion? I'm going to read the consent agenda.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Consent is items to be acted upon collectively unless the board member asks that the specific item be acted upon individually. Last chance, anybody want to take those two out? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take them both out, please.
All right, so we are starting with, we're just going to go with,
So there is no consent agenda?
so
There
there's
is
no consent agenda.
so they
So just
moved
start
to
on them, or do you wanna-
No, they
Okay.
probably should move into new business.
Yep, so that means they're going to become 10.2.5, 10.2.75, 10.2.8.5.
We'll do them in the same order and we'll fix the numbering after.
All right.
Unless Teresa can sort it out. I can't do that.
I'm not gonna worry about
Name them something, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, consent agenda, that was exciting. Old business, 9.1, consideration and approval of the sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Approval of the second reading and approval of new policy, ACDC, coordination of federal and state laws. You all got, so we'll be looking for a motion to bring this piece of paper forward, folks. We all get the paper? So do we have a motion for this piece of paper? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Who did the motion?
Ashley. We have a motion, do we have a second? All right, we have a
Who did the
second
second?
by Alex. This is not a normal, but because of the issue and because of that, I'm actually gonna take a second and read through it. Do you wanna just address it? I don't know we didn't really talk about how to proceed on this one. So, the motion is to bring forth, the policy ACDC. And it's not overly long, so I'm gonna read the policy out. So this is the policy bringing forward at this time. It is the policy of the MSAD52 Board of Directors to follow all state and federal laws applicable to schools, based upon Executive Order 14168, signed on January 20th, 2025, and statements made by the nation's highest law enforcement officer. The board understands that Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 requires schools to provide athletic opportunities separated by biological sex, biological male or biological female. The board believes that to ensure safety, fairness, and equal opportunity in athletics, athletic teams shall be designated by sex in the following manner. And we do have a list of the different sports, and I'll just go through it again, it's not very long. Baseball will be designated for boys. Basketball will have boys and girls. Competition spirit squad would be open for co-ed. Cross country would have boys and girls. Field hockey will be girls. Football will be co-ed. Golf would be boys and girls. Ice hockey, boys and girls. Lacrosse, boys and girls. And when I say boys and girls, I mean there'll be a boys team and a girls team. Skiing alpine, boys team, girls team. Skiing Nordic, boys and girls. Soccer, boys and girls. Softball, girls only. Swim and diving, boys and girls. Track and field indoor, boys and girls. Track and field outdoor, boys and girls. And unified sports would be co-ed. The board is committed to bringing the district into compliance with Title IX as interpreted by Executive Order 14168, signed on January 20th, 2025, while complying with the Maine Human Rights Act to the extent it does not conflict with the federal law, and to provide a safe and welcoming environment for all students regardless of their sexual identity. We have a motion, we have a second. Discussion. Kyle?
It doesn't look like it specifies for any age groups. Is it, like, how would this affect, younger elementary to the high school, I guess would be?
I'm going to, probably for clarification, but I believe it's just for our teams that are, and our teams start at junior high, correct?
Yeah, we don't have sports at the elementary level, so that has to do with TAA and all those youth groups, yeah.
Alex?
The golf team historically is a co-ed sport
They compete separate, like there's a boys championship and a girls championship, however.
at the state level.
So they may play together,
Right.
but
I just as
for
far as the team
championships,
goes,
it's boys
'cause their
and girls.
matches are intermingled.
Yep, but when it comes to like an actual competition and a state meet, it is boys and girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any? Anthony?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the title of the policy to sex-separated facilities and programs.
So,
strike coordination with federal law, and federal and state law, and use sex-separated facilities and programs.
Do we have a second to that motion? Not seeing one at this time, so without a second, the motion fails. Carrie, do
I'm
you?
just gonna offer some information, so I know, I assume that folks are aware of the current legal situation around this with the school districts that have already approved a policy similar to this. I think all other districts who are in the process of having legal issues with the Maine Human Rights Commission did what our original first policy, which was athletics and private spaces. I had a conversation this afternoon just to make sure that I understood sort of the legal landscape around this. And there's some information that I don't know that if I'd learned it earlier, I would have researched it and brought it here. So if people have questions, that could be a little bit tricky. So I think it's entirely possible that, and I don't think this would be a surprise to anybody, that our legal firm, Drummond & Woodson, would not defend us in a case if we had that. I think, but again, this is the part that I need to confirm, but I think what we would need to do is, because our liability, we have to consult with our insurance carrier who provides us liability insurance. If our legal counsel will not take the case, and because they're on the hook for some of these costs, I don't know what that means if they have a say in what legal counsel we receive, or if we have to sort of work with them on what our legal counsel would be. That's the part that I didn't even think about, that what would happen if our legal counsel wouldn't, what that would look like, because the liability insurance company is really the one that will drive that train a little bit, or would want to say, I assume. So I apologize that I just didn't think of that information prior to tonight until today. I was like, I wonder what that means if Drummond & Woodson wouldn't do that, and so that remains an open question for me. So I apologize for not realizing that was something to even consider prior to tonight. So I think that remains an open question about that piece of it, which I think it was theoretical before, but is no longer theoretical now that we know that the Human Rights Commission has filed legal action. So just information for you to have.
And I realize you started off with this by saying you didn't want, hard for questions, but do we by chance, here's a question.
Go for it.
Do we by chance know if any of the other 5 towns, I think it is, or whatever it is, are represented by Drummond & Woodson?
Yeah, so the question came because I called the superintendent in 73, just to sort of because I'd seen their agenda. And he said that Drummond & Woodson had said that they would not represent them. So that prompted me then to call Tom Trenholm and talk to him individually, because I didn't want to just take what Scott Albert said, right? So I called Tom, and that's when he raised the question for me that we really needed to communicate with Maine School Management to find out what the implications are for the liability insurance around that. And by that time I had that conversation, it was 4:30 and it was too late to do that. So it just wasn't something on my radar to think about.
Sure.
Just kind of playing off what Carrie just said, I mean, I think the lawsuit that have been filed since the last time we've talked about this, I think are a pretty important new development in this entire process. And I think Carrie just said it well. Before it was kind of theoretical risk, it's much less theoretical that an action of this policy is going to result in some sort of lawsuit, or the requirement of us to have to defend ourselves. I was not at the meeting when we took action to kind of push this issue in the first place, but I certainly was trying to help honor those wishes kind of in the last few meetings and as we work through this. But my thinking on this in light of the Maine Human Rights Act lawsuits has changed a bit. And I think the real risk of us having to defend ourselves and the costs associated with that are significant. I would much rather invest in some new school buses than pay attorneys. And I think that we should table this until the dust is settled on this matter. And so what I'd like to propose right now is that we table this discussion to the future somewhat indefinitely until we feel it's the right time to bring it back. but that would need a second.
Is that a motion?
That's a
Well,
motion.
hold on a second, which one is a table? The table goes on for there's different,
Yeah, I think the table requires a vote to pull it off the table. There's two versions,
we
and
can put it on the table and.
one of
cover it.
them postpones it, and one
Yeah.
of them puts it on the table until somebody
Yeah,
votes to
You can
bring it
always
up.
bring it back.
Yeah, no,
As
no.
a chair.
Yeah, no.
But I would like to table this, making a formal motion. to
Yeah, no,
table
I
this.
understand that. I just want to make sure table was the right word if it wasn't a different word. I understand, I
Yeah.
wasn't blocking what you're doing or
Sure,
anything.
sure.
I just- All right, so we have a motion to table, which means to basically long-term hiatus on this. And do we have a second? We have a second for Crystal. This current motion on the floor is to table this policy. Any discussion?
I'll just add, I think we've done a lot of work on this. I think we've made a lot of progress towards it. I just think that, like, if we're gonna do this, we're almost locking ourselves into a legal fight. And I think that's a really bad move. And so if, when the dust settles on this, this is the direction we should go, we've done the work and we can bring it back. Okay? Or it'll be different, the laws will be
Laws will
different.
be different.
And we'll know exactly what to do. So I just think it's best interest in this district to table
I
this.
don't
for
want
the time
to.
being.
Kyle?
What was the reason why Woodson didn't wanna represent?
So the conversation I had was because we have legal advice and we didn't follow it, that it puts them in a difficult position. And I didn't have a conversation obviously with Brian Isaacson, but if I were to ask Brian Isaacson, I would assume that it would be the same answer. I don't know that, but that was a conversation that I had because they represent, I don't know if they represent all 5 schools, but I know they at least represent 73. And I think 70, because I talked to that superintendent too, and I think they had worked with Drummond Woodson as well.
They didn't represent them either?
No, that is their attorney. Like you asked, do they all work for
Understood.
Drummond and Woodson? So I know 73 does, and I know 70 does, and I know we do. I don't know about Richmond, and I don't know about Baileyville, and then there's one other school district that I've lost track of. I think there were 5. So I know 3 do, and the one superintendent I've spoken with has said that was the conversation, which then prompted me to call, and that appears to be the position of the legal practice, that they don't know how they would move forward knowing that the legal advice they gave us is not the legal advice, if we were to pass the policy, how they would defend us in that scenario. And then the question about our liability insurance was like, and then my head was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So if we didn't want to take action until I have, Gabby and I get on the phone, talk to MSMA, find about what they would do if our attorneys wouldn't defend us, like what would be their procedure, then that would be information that I could gather. But I just don't know it now because it wasn't something that I thought about.
Jenny?
So I thought long and hard about this. It's definitely been on my mind constantly. I know after sitting at our Tri-Town County meeting, I listened to the county, I listened to the selectmen, I listened to us. I know money is going really tight. I know our county budget is going up almost 13%. I hate to put our district in the thought of more legal fees and increase more expenses. I think it's probably going to get played out in courts for us, and kind of a solution might be found for us on where we're supposed to go. So I'm in favor right now of kind of letting the dust settle and figure out where exactly we should go that doesn't put us in a predicament of spending more legal fees.
Thank you, Jen. Ashley?
I don't know if you heard this from the districts you spoke to, but last I knew, 3 of the 5 still hadn't been served any paperwork in that lawsuit. Meaning they're not actually held legally responsible for anything. They haven't received any paperwork, and all 5 of them didn't even know they were labeled as defendants until it hit the news. They found out the same way we all did.
I do know that was true for 73.
Yeah, so all 5 found out they were listed as defendants when it was leaked to the bank. And 3 of them have still yet to receive any paperwork. So they haven't been formally listed as a defendant, even though they're listed, they're actually not really defendants. I think that although I don't want to see the district enter into a costly legal fight, I think there's a chance that this may disappear altogether. And 2, the Maine Human Rights Act isn't asking for damages. They're not asking for any money from any of these districts. They're just asking for the judge to tell them you have to repeal your policies. So the district decided to move forward with this policy, they could pull the plug at any time and say, well, now it's gonna cost us money, we decide we're not going to, versus just not doing it at all, allowing the Human Rights Commission to bring forward a sue in court, knowing very well that they're just gonna too many districts to say, no, we're not doing it.
Thank you, Ashley. Anybody else? Free?
I agree that we should table, for all the reasons that have been said, so I won't repeat that. I also feel that, the wording on the last paragraph underneath the designations, where it mentions that this particular, policy would be complying with the Maine Human Rights Act, isn't, because that's kind of what's happening with all those other districts, is they're saying they're complying with Maine Human Rights Act, and it's literally Maine Human Rights that's suing them. So I don't like the wording of it. So I'd like to see that if we were to, table this, it would give us time to maybe fix up some more of this wording, so I'm still not happy with the way this is presented to us, even in our second reading. I really have a lot against the last sentence where it says it's providing a safe and welcoming environment for all students regardless of their sexual identity. This is not providing a safe and welcoming environment for all students. So I would like to continue to work on this policy. So I would agree with tabling it for those reasons and for we still need to work on the wording.
Thank you, Bree. Anybody else? Anthony?
So I understand the arguments saying that this would be the fiscally responsible thing to do, right? I understand, I disagree with that. It's fiscally responsible to move forward with this as soon as possible. Because Title IX has a provision for private action. The Department of Justice does not have to be the people who sue this district. The Department of Justice is investigating the state of Maine. They're looking very carefully at the state of Maine, and they may very well be bringing lawsuits down that would, if those come through, if they are victorious, they can remove every title dollar that comes to this district. Are we prepared to run this district without federal funds? It would be absolute catastrophe to lose that money. So not only is that a threat, and it's a very real threat, we have the threat of multiple lawsuits from any child or their parent in this district who feels that their Title IX protections were not observed by this district. There's a lot of girls in this district. A lot. Each one could bring a separate lawsuit. Each one of those separate lawsuits is going to require our legal fees. And if they're successful, we're going to have to pay their legal fees and the value of any lost opportunities to that student. That's a lot of potential liability. The only responsible thing to do is to look very, very carefully at the law, federal law, how the supremacy clause interacts with state law, and say that there's just no choice. We have to follow Title IX. So I do not recommend tabling this at all.
Joe? Yeah, absolutely.
I think up until like the last discussion we had around this, last meeting, I think all associated like lawsuit threats were theoretical. They were there, just like Anthony said. The potential for it was there. I think the big thing that's changed is like the Maine, the Human Rights Commission is actually moving forward with lawsuits against districts that are doing this. So it's like that one's no longer theoretical. So I think that is the tipping point for me, and I think that's why it is responsible that we actually table this now, because most of what you just said is theoretical risk as opposed to real risk, and there's very real risk that the state is going to file suit against schools that are moving forward here. So I don't think we should join that. I don't think we should jump in that fight.
Bree?
In regard to what was just said too, as far as many girls in this district, and if all of them were to try to sue the district because a boy took their spot on athletics, I would be really curious to know where's the data to support that statement right now. I have yet to hear, we've had several students come and stand at public comment. I'm not even seeing this as an issue for our school district at this time. So pushing forward a policy because we have tons of boys trying to go play girls' sports and take away the positions of girls on those sports teams is again a hypothetical situation. I've yet to see any data for that. I've yet to see any data. So why are we pushing forward a policy for something that doesn't actually exist right now? I have no problem with tabling it for a few more months, for however long it needs for the state to figure this out, for these other lawsuits to go through. Maybe there's no money attached to it. Maybe it's just going to force those school districts to change the policy or take the policy away. But we don't need to be in that muddle and that mess. For example, okay, you want to argue that it's taking away positions from girls because that is what Title IX started with in 1972. There was only sports for boys. There wasn't equal representation for females in middle school, but mostly high school. So now we've decided we're going to make competition cheering co-ed. That is traditionally a female sport. But now we're saying in this policy, no, boys can go on it. Guess what? Boys can try out for competition cheering, taking away spots
Bree,
from...
Just try not to.
That's not fair. He gets to look at everybody else on the board, okay? So what do? Like we could spend hours going back and forth on the ruling and what this law really meant way back in 1972, but what does it mean today in 2025, going into 2026, okay? Like, I don't have a problem, like, we have lots of colleges and high school cheering teams that now allow boys to be on it, and I think it has enhanced the cheering. Those boys are able to get in there and be able to like lift girls and do those stunts, and it has made the competition cheering even better. But they still have to try out, and they get a spot on the team just like all the other girls. And if that boy makes that position on the team, and another girl gets cut from the team, what are you going to do now? We're allowing it to be co-ed. But what about all these other teams that we're saying, oh, but we can't make it co-ed? And now we're making football co-ed because we have lots of girls who want to be on the football team. So that is what Title IX initiated in 1972, that where a girl doesn't have representation, she should be allowed to go.
Is this germane to the motion?
Yes, it's perfectly
It is.
fine, let her talk. Perfectly
Thank you.
fine.
I appreciate that, Peter. Okay, so we can't have, like, we're trying to say one way or the other, back and forth. Is it going to be about money? Is it really about what's equal rights for girls? But then you throw in co-ed competition, so that's now allowing boys to go into a girl's sport with permission. And that could be cisgender boys, it could be trans boys, like whatever. We're giving them permission now, but why not for all the other sports? Why are we picking and choosing which sports? That's why I'm saying, the wording in this, the way it's written, the way we're going about trying to allow equity here and there, it's still not equitable. And then you can throw in the lawsuits, and we've already spent $10,000 on 2 opinions from 2 different law firms that we ignored. Potential money, hypothetical, I understand. Just last board meeting, I think it was, we've had community members stand here requesting that as we approach our budget season, that we are taking into account our fiscal responsibility. Those same community members want to see us push this through despite costs. So we have to think as a board, as Joe mentioned before, I agree, our money should go towards academics, school bus safety, maintenance, etc., and not towards legal fees when our community says, please be fiscally responsible with the money that our tax dollars are coming to you with.
Ashley?
I just want to say, although it's not a direct issue right now, we don't seem to have a problem with boys competing on the girls' sports and team. It is happening in other districts, and it's a good thing it's not happening here, because the people that would be here speaking at public comment would be very different. Like the young girl that sat on the sidelines, I believe was a Class C ski state championship, that left this winter, well, technically last winter season, as a boy skied in her spot. There were only 10 spots for those female athletes. That is a very physically enduring sport, and that female had to ride the bus to that state competition and watch as someone else skied in her spot that should have been hers. And thankfully, no one in this district is experiencing that, because I do think the conversations we're going to be having here look very different than the ones we have had in the past few meetings. And I know for a fact there are girls in this district that would not set foot in front of this board to say anything, nor would they dare speak it inside the school, because they know they're not allowed to. And there will be repercussions if they do.
At this time, I'm going to I understand the fiscal aspect. But number one, I was infuriated that the state's trying to bully us at this point. They're just trying to, and I'm even more infuriated that Drummond Woodson is starting to try to bully us. And originally I wasn't too much, I was in complete favor of keeping Drummond Woodson. But if this is going to be the practices, I think there might be further discussion around Drummond Woodson. Because they're pushing a political mindset. There are lawyers, they should be representing us. And if they're choosing to represent us for an issue, I just heard about it and it's been bugging me ever since I heard it. As for this particular issue, I've thought about it a lot, and the money left it for me for a while ago. Because I have had, I've had dozens and dozens of conversations with people that I cannot relate for the same reasons Ashley said. They're scared to come forward. They're scared to mention it in the schools, that they feel that they're being thrown under the bus because they can't say their opinion and somebody has to speak for them. We talk about the human rights. Well, what about the rights of young ladies to participate in a sport against young men who are physically, naturally stronger and faster? So I think there comes to a point where it's going against the state, but we got to do what's right. And I think it's right to support our female athletes. I wasn't in favor of the spaces at this point because I don't think that is truly, to me it comes down to safety and fairness. And we have had students in our district be pushed down the leaderboard because they competed against at birth biological men, transgender. So we have had it affect students in our district. They weren't in the top 10, they weren't in the top 4, but they were pushed down their rankings. And those rankings become important, no matter what level you are, to get into your colleges, to get your scholarships. If you're all of a sudden 24th instead of 25th at a state level meet or something like that, when you get to certain, as it's been explained to me in detail by, again, I gotta be careful how much I say, but it becomes very important. And I feel that somebody has to at least speak for them. I realize that what we're doing here only affects our school, only affects our female students. That's it. They're gonna compete against male students all over the state. But somebody has to at least stand, and I think we should, and I completely, again, the money went out of it for me. I feel that we shouldn't throw a whole group of our female athletes under the bus because we're afraid that we're gonna get sued. The state suit is not gonna cost us much of anything, if anything. First of all, we'll see if we even get added to the list, and we'll see when we're gonna get our papers. But I don't think it's gonna cost us, because that's not it's the other suits. And I think we have potential of being sued on both sides. I know there are young ladies who are lining up if we are forcing them to compete to sue us on the other side, as well as both sides. So I think there's potential lawsuits regardless on this issue until the state makes up its mind and the feds make up their mind. The reason I'm not necessarily in favor of tabling it is because it's just, the state had an opportunity to do this a year ago and got scared and ran away from it. So how many times are they gonna do that again and not address it? Basically, the only thing that's gonna settle this is the federal, is the federal case. And that could be a year, 2 years, and so forth. And I don't think that our female athletes should be held under for that long. I think somebody should, represent them at this time. But, so anyways. Anthony?
Another aspect of the financial aspect of the lawsuits is the fact that the districts that are sued, and there's no guarantee that we will be sued, right? So we're talking about that lawsuit might be real for that one district, but it's not a reality for the others yet. But there is the possibility of the districts banding together and sharing legal expenses, having a single lawyer represent them, and that's gonna keep the costs down. So that there's that issue as well. And then finally, the idea that it's not a problem in our district, I don't think that that's true. But even if that were, it's a problem. One does not create policies in reactions to problems. One creates policies to prevent problems from happening in the first place. And we need this policy because right now we're torn between the Maine Human Rights Act and Title IX. And only one of them can win. We have to observe them. So we need to just buck up and do our job and stop procrastinating.
All right, we have a motion on the floor right now to table this issue. Any further discussions, comments, questions?
Yeah, I got one more thing to say.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just, I think Anthony just highlighted it, right? There's a dichotomy right now of either needs to be absolutely one way in the Maine Human Rights Act, or it has to be absolutely the other way in Title IX. And Peter was just highlighting how he wants to make sure we do the right thing. I just want to be clear, I don't think either path is the right thing. I think that this issue is complicated. I think it's easy to come up with a story on each side of this issue that is equally heartbreaking and frustrating. And I think that the actual right thing to do here is a much more case-by-case review about competitive advantage. I think it's if we're looking at the right thing to do and what's fair, I think we have to look at this case by case. I don't think applying with either direction here. So again, doing the right thing, I think we all want to do the right thing here. But I think this calculation right now is absolutely about legal risk. I think it's absolutely about dollars, at least in my mind. I understand you kind of moved on from it, Peter, but that's where we're at. We're like, what is more risky for us? Is it to side with this federal interpretation that is all the way one way, or should we side with the state interpretation that's all the way the other way? I think we should stop trying to take those sides. I think we should let this play out in the courts, and we should pick this back up when it's clear what the law is really saying. We should not spend our district's money in the courtroom, even if it's sharing it with another district. We should not be a leader here trying to pick sides in this issue. We should let this settle down and table this.
Anybody who hasn't spoke? Okay, at this time, we have a motion. All those in favor of the motion as presented to table the bill? One, Jenny is up, yes. 1, 2, 4. Both students. You all set? All those opposed? Motion fails. Any further discussion on policy ACDC? Anthony?
I'd like to share a story from when I was president of student government at my university. Inspired by the Guerrilla Girls who promoted women's artist representation in the art establishment, a group of female students, several of my friends among them, formed a club dedicated to the same cause. As president, it was my job to make certain that their charter met the requirements of Title IX before their club could receive funding, since that money came with federal strings attached. When I read their charter, I noted that it explicitly prohibited males from joining the club. I told them that they were welcome to create a women's-only group, but that they had to allow men to join if they wanted the funding. I cited Title IX. When they protested, saying that no men would want to join, I told them that the law also meant that they had to welcome any male student who wanted to participate, including those who identified as women. They were angry. But in the end, they capitulated, since the law is the law and federal law was clear, and they believed that they needed the money to do their activities. But I paid a price. I lost friends. I was denounced as a misogynist in the student newspaper, and my locker and art supplies were vandalized. All because I advocated for trans rights long before it became fashionable to do so. So, you might be wondering why I am now arguing for a policy that strictly forbids trans students from entering into sports and other sex-separated parts of the educational program. The critical issue here is that my argument then, and my argument now, is founded on the law. I was not then, and am not now, building an argument from the top down, beginning with what I would like to see happen, and cherry-picking bits of law and logic to support my whim. No. Instead, I started with what the law said in plain English, and then laid one brick of foundation against another by logical application of that law and its internal consistencies. That foundation is strong and unassailable. Anyone who wants to not pass this law, this policy, has to answer the question, by what authority are you flouting the Maine Human Rights Act and Title IX? You have an oath of office to uphold the laws and constitution of this state. Inherent is that, in that, is the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution that says that when a state law conflicts with the federal law such that you cannot comply with both of them, the federal law reigns supreme. Some of you might cite the possibility that the Supreme Court could rule someday that based on some precedents set by Title VII decisions, the supremacy clause would not apply in this case. The fundamentals of that Title VII decision, if you bothered to look, deal with actual sex discrimination, not gender identity discrimination. So comparing these is comparing apples to oranges. As board members, we must govern based on the law as it stands, not, and indeed has stood since 1972, not on speculative future rulings. That should close the case. Full compliance with Title IX. The question before us is not about our personal preferences. It's about the law and our oath to uphold it. If your oath means anything, you will support full compliance with Title IX. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Joe?
There's incredible irony with what was just said and what is reality. And that is that Title IX was a law enacted in 1972. There is nothing that has changed in the last couple of years in that law. And since that time, 1972, all the presidential administrations enforced that law in one very particular way. Even this president and his administration, for 4 years of a prior term, enforced the law in a way that was consistent with the Maine Human Rights Act. Okay? I think the discussion around personal preference is what I find ironic, because what is happening right now is people are using preference to reinterpret the law in a novel way for their own use right now. So what I'm trying to get at is that don't try to corner members of this board that are gonna vote against this in a way to saying we're not complying with the law. Because I think very much so, this law is being debated at all levels of government, federal, state, in the courts, in the executive branches and government's mansions around this country. And it is not clear. And I think we are right now debating this, what should happen in our district, what we should do, what fights we should have, what legal battles we should get into. That's happening all over the country. I don't think we should be playing this game. That's why I wanted to table it, but I also just want to defend anyone here that wanted to vote against this, that it is absolutely not contrary. It's not clear what the federal law says. Again, it was apparently very clear from 1972 to 2024, but it is not clear now.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else who wants to go to this? All right, seeing new information?
Yes.
Okay.
So, what my colleague just said is absolutely untrue.
Well, hold on, no, we're not going down that road. You had opportunity, they had.
No, Peter, I have 2 opportunities to speak. I have been recognized, and I will speak.
If it proceeds, I will close it down. We're not going back and forth.
Peter?
Anthony? We're not going, so, Jess, as long as it's general new information and not going back.
This is new information.
Okay.
The fact is that executive orders by Barack Obama and Joe Biden changed the interpretations of Title IX. It changed the way the federal government looked at and enforced Title IX. So what was just presented to this organization, this board, was simply false. Someone did not do his homework.
Okay. All right. That being said, we're going to move forward with the vote. All those in favor of policy ACDC, please raise your hand.
Got it.
You got it? All those opposed? I realize I did that in reverse from what I did last time, didn't I? And I don't think there's no abstainings. So, policy ADC moves forward. That takes us to 10.1, correct?
Mr. Parker.
Yes. Principal Parker, you're up.
Thank you.
We get to hear the drums?
What's that?
We get to hear the drums?
I will if you like. I needed a table. So good evening.
Oh, we got a presentation?
Yes. Yeah, I was just gonna point out that the presentation snuck up behind you. And also there is a paper copy, I think that
Oh,
Dr.
yeah,
Gillis
Teresa, can you
has
send those either
that
way?
can be distributed.
I'll be the paper pass, thank you. Teresa.
It'll be relatively, I took out the photographs on the black and white copies, but just very pleased to have a few minutes to give you a little bit of update about Green Central School. And there's a nice shot every morning. I get to kind of come in. That was very early this year and really enjoyed sharing that. I'd like to start with, this was really neat. We have had a mission and a vision in place for a long time. But looking at kind of where we've gone as a district, where we've gone as a school, we had an opportunity for a little bit of a revamp. So we really kind of took our previous mission and vision, the MSAD52 mission and vision, the MSAD52 strategic plan, and some of our shared school staff collective commitments. And we kind of put them all together, worked really, really hard, and came up with a couple of brief revised mission statements, which now read, Green Central School empowers all students to grow academically, socially, and emotionally in a safe, inclusive, and supportive environment. We prepare learners to become thoughtful, engaged, and responsible members of the community. And our vision, what we are looking to create, Green Central School is a place where every student feels a sense of belonging and purpose. Through inclusive classrooms, responsive teaching, and strong partnerships, we support every learner's growth and success. And our revised motto, and this was actually voted on by staff, learning today, leading tomorrow. So it's kind of, it's a very, very nice anchor point for us. And here that happens to be, that's not in the packet, but that happens to be a shot of some of our student ambassadors. Student ambassadors are from grades 5 and 6. These happen to be 6th graders right here. But they are posing in front of our food drive. We opened up our food drive during student-led conferences. We encouraged families to bring in what they could. And I believe we nailed down, I think we were going for 350 items. And I think we topped up 394. So the kids were really, really excited. And a lot of discussion around when there's a pack of soap, does that count as 6 items or 1 item? You know, so lots of rich discussion there. But the items donated, again, benefited our backpack program. Okay, there is student enrollment. That's, believe it or not, an 11-year trend graph for the enrollment at GCS based on our October 1st numbers. As you can certainly see, pre-pandemic, we were just about a little bit shy of 400. It dropped off since then. The number on that graph as of October 1st is 327, although that has now increased to 330, and it tends to kind of very often come in waves. But we're sitting at 330 right now. And this graph represents 11 years worth of our percentages, students who are eligible for free and reduced meals at Green Central. We had a little bit of a drop from last year, but that's still substantial. And our current staff makeup, we do have 19 classrooms, grades pre-K through grade 6. We have 2 full-time special education teachers, plus half-time or part-time when contracted through our Margaret Murphy program that is here on site. We have specialists, we have guidance, we have library ed tech, we have physical education, 1 full-time teacher and 1 who comes, we share with leads, who comes 1 day a week. We have full-time technology, art, music, chorus, and band. Art is here 3 days a week, music and chorus 3 days a week, and band is here 2 days a week. We're also very, very pleased for a continuing partnership. We have a Margaret Murphy Therapeutic Day Treatment Program here on site at Green Central. They are our collaborative partners. All the students who are members of the day treatment program are all students from within our district. And it's a really, really high caliber program that is very specialized to meet needs of students with interesting and diverse needs. And they are great, great working partners as well. And we also have on site a Spurlink social worker intern who is supervised by a social worker through the Spurlink organization. Okay, I know that's a lot, but that's our attendance data, and we've been very, very ferocious around that. I like to kind of start right around 2020, 2021, right around the pandemic, and then moving down. On the far left is the year, then represented as our average daily attendance. And then in the middle, we have students, the number of students who are approaching chronically absent. For those of you that just need a little bit of reminder, chronic absenteeism is a student who is missing 10% or more of school days at that point in the year for any reason. whether they're sick, whether they, their parents, the family took a vacation, whatever that happens to be. Interestingly, a student that is chronically absent at one point in the year, say early on, if they're present throughout the year, they can actually come off of the chronic absenteeism list. So we do watch the students that are approaching chronic. We also really keep an eye on the actual percentage of students who are chronically absent. And again, that's for any reason. But we're very pleased if you kind of take a look at that trend in the fourth column from the left. We have a downward trend in the number of students that are chronically absent. And in the same vein, far right, habitually truant, the number of students who have 7 or more unexcused absences has been on a steady decline. I did want to point out, I put a little purple stripe across the bottom on my screen. It's green. We're not going to get overly excited about that because those numbers are going to change. We just kind of wanted to demonstrate that we're keeping track right now, and that's where we are as of this week. So it would be great if it kind of stopped there, but the fact that from 2022 to the 22-23 school year and the 24-25 school year, the percentage of habitually truant students was cut literally in half. So we've been working very diligently. We have an attendance team that meets bi-weekly, and we have a lot of protocols that we use, great relationships with our parents. So whenever we do have a concern, we'll do whatever we need to do, whether we have a parent come in, we may do a home visit, we may just, conversations on the phone, whatever we can do to kind of take care of the barriers that are in the way for students attending school on a regular basis. Any questions there? It's a lot, I know. Okay. So here is information about students who are identified under special education. And we have 24-25 and then 25-26. We can see students that have an IEP. We had just shy of 14% last year. Right now, there we go. All told, including the students in the referral process, we're hovering around 22%. So about 72 of our students either have or will likely have the need for specially designed instruction. So in other words, they have that individual education plan. Similarly, under section 504, we have that little comparison there. We had about 5% of our students last year who had a 504 plan, and that's staying relatively stagnant or relatively even around just 4.6% of our students. Questions so far?
I do have.
Go ahead, Bree.
In your previous slide, I'm curious for clarification, when you
Yep.
talk about the number of students this year with IEPs, does that include the Margaret Murphy students in your special?
That one, I believe, should, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go. Just kind of a quick warm and fuzzy. This was a third grade activity, and they were using as an anchor text for an activity a book. It was actually a picture book about the history of the balloons in the Macy's Day Parade. So they were able to have a nice activity there, and just the kids were having an absolute blast with it. There we go. Okay, and a little overview of our school-wide goals. The first one here has to do with working on our Tier 1 instruction and inclusion. So by 2026, obviously June, 100% of our staff will participate in these 3 professional learning sessions focused on inclusion. We're strengthening our Tier 1 instructional practices, collaborative networks of support, and then at least 80% of staff will demonstrate application of these practices in classrooms and their professional learning communities, as evidenced by lesson plans, minutes, and observations. That's a very, very chunky one. We're trying to figure a way to kind of ease that in a little bit. There's a lot there.
So really, in order to kind of achieve that goal, we want to make sure that there's a continual understanding of the what and the why of inclusion and the multi-tiered systems of supports. And those various resources, we've had Dr. Gillis and Ms. Drysdale come in, and they have talked about IMTSS and given us some great base work. We have our own building level MTSS team. As a matter of fact, we happen to meet today. And that involves school psychologists, our instructional coach, folks who are on the PBIS and advanced tier teams, myself, and actually a different graduate student. So we do definitely share kind of the best practices, and we also utilize a couple of outside consultants that are very, very skilled and provide lots of information. Did want to point out that strengthening the Tier 1 instructional strategies, we're forming our inclusive teams and building collaborative practices and structures. So whether that is a special ed teacher working with a regular ed teacher, or it happens to be an interventionist that's going in, or a special ed tech within that classroom, we're working on strengthening those structures. And then we're using our data to really drive that decision making. Is this working? Is it not? What are other things that we might need to do? And so we're making that, trying to make that instruction accessible and make the interventions as intense as they need to be so the child can find success. We're also building and using those networks of support, as I said, through the district staff, those external partners, our internal PLCs, and our instructional coach. And we're providing targeted support and creative problem solving because anybody that's been in a public school knows it's always creative, and it does give us a nice opportunity for some problem solving. And we want to make sure that our school-wide structures and practices align with that mission, vision, and the goal. That's kind of a nice grounding place for us. Questions on that? Okay. All right. There we go. You can't get more fun than pre-K at Thanksgiving, right there. So that's definitely an uplift. Some homemade turkey. All right. And our second goal, by 2026, we're going to be using restorative practices to show evidence of improved student outcomes. We're shooting for a 10% decrease in repeat behavior incidents compared to 24-25. And 10% increase in student survey responses that we give, indicating that the students feel respected, heard, and have a sense of belonging here at school. So we are embedding those restorative practices into our daily routines. The staff is using those restorative practices and the languages when addressing student behavior and building community within their classrooms. So the strategies that we're using to achieve this, it's really interesting. We had a small group of teachers who were really passionate and interested in the restorative practice. And we were able to get a small implementation team. We had folks from the DOE come on site and actually did a full course with them to provide the training for them to be that implementation team. And so that team then, it's almost like a train-the-trainer, facilitated the use of those restorative practices at the classroom level. They did their own on-site PD demonstrations with the staff, had the staff be able to practice those kinds of things. And then our Green Central School staff, in turn, completed, there were 9 DOE restorative practice modules, and each one of our folks completed those 9. Then they participate and are continuing with the ongoing professional development. And they're working to reinforce, refine that implementation, supported by the team. Each class does use a restorative circle protocol as needed to support the routines in the classroom, positive behavior, expected behavior, and that positive classroom environment. And we also, again, bringing in our Margaret Murphy partners, we have a great working relationship with them. When things get a little interesting or a little bit complex, they're there and they will help us and support us with topics like understanding behavior, effective responses, and interestingly, data collection, because in order to make those decisions, we have to have the data and not just that, like, oh, I feel that. You really have to have some good data. So kind of looking at this is another comparison chart. And remember, the incident, an IRF is an incident referral form. We do want to point out too, the incident referral form in and of itself is not a consequence. All that is a recording of the behavior or the situation that occurred. So that in and of itself, you know, it's not going to be, oh, behave yourself or you're going to get an IRF. That's not what it is. It's really like, here's a situation, what were the responses that we used, and were those effective? And if so, we obviously want to repeat that. We want to repeat the effective and successful interventions. So if you do take a look, again, down at the bottom, we're not quite, obviously, to the end of the year yet, but if you kind of look, we have the percentage of kids at green that got between 0 and 1 incident referral forms, then we have 2 to 5, and then we have 6 or more. You know, 21, 22, again, pandemic era was interesting, but those trends do tend to be heading in the correct direction. We're looking at the more intensive 6 or more, went from 6.69% down to 5.74, down to 5.07. We were shooting for 4% last year, so we're a little bit shy, but we did have that decrease. So far this year, and again, that's a big if. Those are not going to be solid numbers. If they were, I'd be okay with that. But that's where we stand as of right now. We're just shy of 90% of the kids have either no incident referral forms or just one. And then 7.74 and then 2.48%. So that allows us kind of hone right in and say, okay, we've got particular things that we may need to do for kids at tier 2 and some definite things that we need to have happen for kids that are at tier 3, that more intensive needs. Questions on that? Alrighty, and again, more fun on learning in class. Got a couple of first grades right there. Those are actually from today. And our final goal, by the end of the 25-26 school year, it'll actually be 26-27, but the teachers in grades K through 6 will successfully implement the shared reading, vocab, and writing from the inter-reading components into their daily literacy and writing instruction. Did want to point out that's year 2 of a 3-year goal. This year, grade 6 has taken on inter-reading full board. We had done it K to 5 last year, and then we rolled it out to grade 6 as well. The materials are incredibly robust. There's a lot there, and it seems that there's a variety of different ways to access the material that's online. And it seems like if you had 3 teachers that got together, say, do you know where resource X is? There are 3 or 4 different ways to find it. So it might be, oh yeah, you do this, oh, that's not how I did it at all. I came in through this way and was able to locate it. So, but we discovered too, there's a whole social emotional learning section into reading, so we're taking a good look at that as well for likely future use. So again, here are strategies to achieve our goal. Obviously, curriculum work, collaborative planning. We're implementing and using those activities that align to our priority standards and main learning results. We're definitely facilitating professional learning through work with our instructional coach. We're enhancing our intervention process guided by that data analysis using our NWEA and the HMH, which is the inter-reading data. And then we could not let the slide go by without pointing out that at the same time, teachers in grades 3 through 6 are also implementing illustrative math. So there is a great deal of new learning for the staff and for our students as well. That those are very, very robust programs, and the teachers are incredibly dedicated and really working hard to make sure that they're implemented with fidelity. So, for those of you who love charts, here's some more for you. These are GCS. This is our NWEA Reading Growth Goals. that are met. So in other words, the NWEA system says, you know, by the end of a particular year, we would expect this student to have X amount of growth. And then whether or not that student attained the growth as expected under the NWEA testing instrument. So just a couple of things for those of you that like cohorts. If you take a look, they're banded down from left to right. So first grade, 22, 23, second grade, 23, 24 is third grade, 24, 25. I tried to make them not like overly bright, but also, you know, easy to follow. So I'll just give you a minute to kind of take a look.
So we're following the color, right? So the
Yes.
yellow's probably the easiest.
Yeah, if you
So-
want, right, if you want to
Okay.
follow the cohort, follow the color.
So this is how many kids met their growth goal as third graders
Yep.
in 22-23, 39%. As fourth graders in 23-24, 28% of them met it. And then as fifth graders, 78, right?
I'm going to say 79, I'm going to round.
79, sorry, yes, thank you, yeah, 100%.
Yes, that's exactly.
So that's a
exactly.
pretty dramatic
Yeah.
improvement, okay.
Yeah.
And that was at the end of year one of the implementation,
Right.
right? Okay.
Do growth goals change year over year, or they stay consistent?
I think it's really, I think it depends on the growth that the kiddo makes, and I believe they do change. It's not like every year you gotta go up 6 points. I've seen some where if the kiddo is expected to make 8 points, they might go up 6 points. Or
Growth
I've
goal is
also seen
individualized. It's
what's a
individualized. Yeah.
we've also seen some unbelievable, and I'm thinking of particularly kids that have an IEP, they're expected to go up 8 and they go up 26 or some just like ridiculously amazing number. So yeah, so it does it does adjust based on the student.
Question, not to discount, because the rates look great, but is it possible that, would you ever have a scenario where a student is expected to go up 8 and they only go up 4, so the following year they're only expected to go up 6, so the expectation is lower year over year?
I'm not sure exactly how that formula works. That's a fair question. I think that's a little, I've not seen it happen that way. Usually the growth goals are pretty demanding. But
I mean, it's based on the, you know, they take the
Right.
test in the fall, and the growth goal should be this by the spring. So it's based on their achievement in that
Yeah.
test. So if the kid blows the test off, like, which can always happen, right?
Yeah.
Then that would impact it, but if they don't make their growth goal, they're still at a certain achievement level, so they should still be moving.
it's cumulative.
They can see the projection from like each testing.
What they expect it would be, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that gap is so big in 1 year that it makes it look like a lot of kids don't need it, and then the algorithm recalculates and brings their expectation more in line with what they actually could potentially reach, and then we see that close in a later year.
We didn't have every grade level enact in reading last year, correct? It was just the older grades, or I don't remember.
Oh, I'm not quite to that. I think you might be thinking about the MEAs?
No, you're
What?
asking about the reading program.
Reading curriculum.
Oh, the curriculum. I'm sorry, I thought you meant the testing.
Reading program.
Right,
yes.
yeah, we did K through 5.
It was all grades?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. For illustrative math, it's 3 through 6 this year.
Okay.
So I know, that's,
Okay.
we okay to move on? Okay, more data. So these are for grades 1 and 2, obviously, and this is where NWEA would expect a student in first or second grade to be proficient or above proficient. So if you kind of take a look at the cohorts, I know it's a short graph, but this is under the NWEA, what they call the CUP score, is a student considered to be proficient by hitting the target that we're expecting them to hit.
So it's a different set of data than growth. Growth is
Right.
individualized by kid. This
Yep,
is
this is
proficient.
like, right, yep. And the reason it's 1 and 2 is because this one, it's again the NWEA, but it's the through year data, so it's considered the state testing. They put in, the state determines where the expected where the expected target is, and this would represent the percentage of kids in reading who attained that, either attained it or exceeded it based on that state standard.
I just have a quick question, just to clarifying for myself. During report card season, we get a little printout.
You did.
And that is that telling us growth or is it telling us proficiency? Because it'll say, my kid tested
Yeah.
here, this is where the class was, this is where the state is, and then there's where the shaded one where I'm assuming she's supposed to go.
Which grade, I'm sorry?
Well, this one is in 6th grade.
Okay, so yeah, so that would definitely be,
Okay,
that
so
would be a
is
3-year.
it growth or is it proficiency that I'm looking at?
On the front, it should be proficiency. Did the kiddo make it, yay or nay?
Okay.
And then there may be a line graph on the back that kind of shows their progress over
Okay,
time.
gotcha.
And in the fall, do you get the anticipated growth? Like,
Mhm.
does the test provide you with what we think, what the growth should be?
Yes.
This is the kid's
Yeah.
growth goal, and then
This is where,
in
right,
the
this is where
spring,
we're
they
expecting.
made it or they didn't.
Exactly. Yeah, and it is always interesting because we do a winter test as well, but that one's not that one is not a mandatory state test. The fall and the spring are.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, again, that's set up by cohort if anybody wants to kind of follow those diagonals. All right, and again, always fun. And a lot of noise in here today, it was phenomenal. There are Christmas songs that are, and it's, for whatever reason, this wall right here is adjacent to kind of the office area. You might as not even bother to have a wall, because it is just, but but it's cool because you can feel the brass, like right in your stomach as you're, whatever we're doing, and it's just, yeah, anyway. So that was really exciting. So that's just, thank you very much for your kind attention. Don't know if anybody else has any, we tried to get questions as we went, but if anybody had any.
Anyone else have any more questions? Anything?
So on slide 10,
Okay.
you're talking about the 100% of Green Central School staff will participate in these 3 professional development, and at least 80% of the staff will demonstrate application of these practices. Why? How did you choose 80%? Why not 100%?
80% was kind of in conversation with the folks as we're doing our and again, it's a 3-year plan. We want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity, and I think 100% would be a very, very robust goal. We're expecting, we would imagine, more than that. I think 80% is a solid starting place, and we'll go from there.
Can we assume it'll be 100% by middle of fall next year?
Well, we're going to see where this lands, and that's the direction we'd definitely like to go.
Bree?
Yeah, so just point of clarification on that slide as well,
Yeah.
that when you say staff, are you talking about teachers or all staff?
All staff.
So when I look at the number 80% of staff will demonstrate application of these practices in classrooms and PLCs as evidenced by lesson plans. For example, an ed tech isn't teaching the lesson. So
They
I
may
think
be-
that
right,
kind
they may be
of, they support
Yes.
with the teacher, they support with the students. But as far as like holding them to, like they didn't create the lesson plan, but they support it. So I'm just wondering if that's another point of
It's-
where 80% comes in. 100% are going to sit through the training, but 80% are being held responsible for lesson plans and evaluations from.
And we would, that's a great point, and we will be, looking for additional evidence. How did, as an intervention ed tech, how did you, work with the teacher to create opportunities for that inclusion? What did that dynamic look like? And there are a lot of moving parts, and, so.
Anyone else have any questions? Anthony?
I'd be curious to know how the grades that are sent home to the parents for their kids track to this data. So are these scores, like like reading at state expectations, is that tracking to, geez, my kid was getting A's all year long, but he is not meeting these expectations? Could you talk to that?
I would say there's a little A and a little B. As Superintendent Med pointed out, if a kiddo's not taking a test seriously, or they're having an off day, they're not feeling well, that may not correlate whatsoever. There may be some strong correlation, but I would never stand here and say, well, the kids scored this, so therefore they should be getting this on the report card. We look at it as a snapshot in time. That's a summative assessment, and we're looking at formative assessments all along too.
So will we ever be able to get, basics like, okay, at Leeds School, Turner Primary, whatever, Green, this grading period, here's how our kids did. 25% got C's, 15% got B's, and the rest got A's.
It's not data that we've talked about collecting. We've been working really hard at the common assessments so that we have something other than that 1 hour, 90-minute test that the kids take at the end of the year. We could get that information. It's in PowerSchool when people enter their grades. I think where we've been putting our energy is on the common assessments, so we can really look at implementation of the reading program, how kids are doing, how their achievement is, and also to have additional information, not just the state test.
And I would dare say too, with the NWEA, not necessarily the state test part, but when teachers are able to go in the platform and take a look, very often it can actually take a student's score and then break it down and say, here are the areas in which they're excelling. Hey teacher, here are the areas that they may need some support in, or they're ready to fly in this, give them some challenge. So that can also impact the teacher's decision on how to do their instruction and what might be the next steps for them. So that part is really valuable.
I would find that data useful.
Anybody else have any questions? Lots of concerns?
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
That takes us to, yeah.
10.2 and then back
Yeah,
to the...
yeah, no, that's about okay, I was doing my mining. Consideration approval of the Finance Committee recommendation of the use of the Tech Reserve Fund for district portion of the E-rate project for the purpose of 3 years of Aruba Central licensing as required for the management of district-wide networking equipment, access points and switches in the amount of $24,764.21.
We're gonna change
And we're
that
gonna
number.
change it before we get a motion.
Yes, 23,000.
Only going down? Could.
$23,602.98.
$662.98.
60, I had it written, I said it wrong.
Okay.
$23,662.98.
Sure it's 98?
Pretty sure.
Gabby?
Sure?
I'm pretty sure.
All right.
God help us.
Did
if
somebody
we
check,
round
did you
it.
check her math?
No. She checked her math with math, which is why it's been corrected.
So, all right, so do we have a motion for the amount of $23,662.98, why they still exist? We have a motion from Alex. Do we have a second from Kyle? Took a second, so I'm not sure. Doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in this. We have a conversation?
Yeah, question. This is not new fundraising, this is from a fund balance that we already have and using
Correct,
that money
and we
for
actually
this
took
purpose.
this expense out of the budget during the budget process and are incrementally increasing the technology reserve fund to be able to cover this every 3 years instead of having that large bump every 3 years.
And just double checking, Finance Committee went into this and recommending this use, right? Okay.
So, any other questions? And it's under consent, so it means it, no, it wasn't consent.
No, it wasn't, because we, yeah.
Oh, because we did, because of the change?
Technology reserve.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it
we
was
couldn't-
check reserve, right, so we didn't put it in.
Okay. But it was unanimous in finance? Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Anybody opposed? Change their mind? No? All right, that takes us to, Teresa, what do we decide to call them?
To be determined.
Okay, to be determined
Just
one.
do them in order is all I'm
Just do
gonna
them
say.
in order. Yes, please.
Oh, come on, let's do closing procedures first. That was the first, okay. All right, 8.1, which is now to be determined something else. First reading and acknowledgement of revised policy KF, use of school facilities, KF-E1, fee schedule, and KF-E2, conditions for use of Levitt Area High School auditorium. First and foremost, do we have a motion? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Can you say the names? I'm sorry.
Kyle was
Oh, Kyle and Anthony. Bree, you requested this pulled out. What was your thoughts?
When we send it back to, I'd like to request sending it back, for, on policy KF-E2, just the last page. On this extremely long list of rules and regulations that no one's gonna follow,
Hey.
for the most part. Trust me, wait till I get to what I'm saying. And the regulations of, I would like to remove 14, 16, and 17. Who is
14, 15, and 17?
14, 16, and 17? Like, what happens if a guest puts their knees on the back of the chair? These seem a bit archaic, and who's policing? Other than rules like no running in the hallways and no running through the auditorium, like, we just know that. Like, that's just common decency and respect of the space you're visiting. And people are gonna speak up and say, hey, we shouldn't be running in here. Stop running across the stage if you're using the auditorium, for example, right? But it doesn't need to be written in paper because these are just, like, we just do it. So same thing with things like putting your knees on the back of the seat backs. I get why it's important. I'm not saying it's not. I used to be a drama advisor, and so I understand and respect the space of an auditorium. But I don't think we need to have some of these rules when the list is already extremely long. And these are kind of, they go without saying, like, no running in the auditorium, don't put your feet on the chairs, but like, also, a 5-year-old who goes in to observe the play might have to put their feet on the chair because of how they can't see, and they have to sit there. And so what are we gonna do, kick them out? So, some of these policies, rules and regulations they go without saying, and I don't think we need to have them in writing.
Joe?
Are you suggesting that, that these things should be allowed?
It goes without saying, like, we don't have to put in here no running through the auditorium, because that's also just goes without saying. You don't run through the halls in schools, you don't run through the auditorium, you're not gonna be running across the stage. That's not listed in here, because it goes without saying. So saying things like climbing over the rows, who does that? Like, and if a kid is doing that, someone's gonna tell them, so it just goes without saying.
Okay, let him speak, please.
Yeah, the only reason why I think these are conditions for outside groups.
Exactly,
using our
I'm saying that.
auditorium.
I am totally aware of that.
Okay, I'm not talking to you anymore, I'm just talking in general. But I think these are conditions for outside groups using the auditorium, not our kids' day-to-day teacher enforcement. I know that, just from our discussion of policy, that this is a list that was compiled fairly thoughtfully by our principal from prior experience, and I don't think it hurts to reiterate things that some people might think are obvious. But I also am really curious, actually, Evan, I don't know if I can ask Evan to comment on this, but or if you have any thoughts on. I remember this in our policy meeting discussion, you having crafted this fairly thoughtfully.
I think that I did not craft the list. It's been crafted long before I crafted it. It was crafted when the auditorium was brand new.
Okay.
There's been some things that have been added to it, but the items that are on the list are items that, the current folks who utilize the auditorium and help to maintain the auditorium support the list.
Thank you. Crystal?
Nope, Joe stole my thunder.
Joe?
I'll allow it.
Good.
I apologize, Crystal. Anthony?
I'd like to speak to that too, and that these, I'm adding to what was said, in that, given that these are regulations for outside groups, it is setting very clear standards, so that if those standards are not met, we have very clear grounds for saying, I'm sorry, you cannot use the space again. Because given that the local groups, community groups, are presumably the groups asking to use these spaces, it can be sticky to not grant somebody's space use. And to be able to point to the policy and say, yeah, we told you this, and you did this anyway, you're not being responsible. If it's not there, then we're saying, well, it was the unspoken rule, and you violated the unspoken rule. That's a little vague from people on the other side who are looking at this thing, well, I wish you would have told us, and now we can't use this space anymore. So I understand why it's in there, and I think it seems picayune, but I think it's picayune with a design in mind. There's a real purpose there.
Thank you, Anthony. Anybody else? I'm just gonna add that I believe lists like this are for extenuating circumstances, like Anthony said, to try to deal with a circumstance that comes up, not common sense. And unfortunately, we all have to see these lists every day, otherwise it would not say on every bottle out there, do not eat this if you're allergic to it. So, unfortunately, I'd love to see stuff be smaller in detail, but detail is sometimes needed, and I suspect realistically, this list could probably be twice as long and still not cover all the issues. So right now, the motion is out there. We don't really have it. You didn't have there wasn't a motion to change it, or there wasn't a second. You made a motion to change it.
I did not make a motion.
Okay, that was the reason why you brought it forward. Okay, so, do you want to make an official motion to change it?
I would be the only one voting, so no.
Okay. But Crystal,
I know how to read a room.
Okay, good. All right, so with that being said, all those in favor of whatever the hell it is nowadays.
KF.
It was 8.1.
Yeah.
As it is currently written and moving forward for second reading. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you, Brittany. All right, that takes us to 8.2, or whatever it is now, review and adoption of superintendent recommendation of job descriptions, 8.2.1, Ed Tech 3. Do we have a motion? Kyle, do we have a second? Crystal, 3. You asked for this to be taken out.
Number 8, reviews and reinforces learning previously introduced by the classroom
In the classroom?
or by the classroom teacher. You can wordsmith this, but it can't be approved with that sentence because it's not grammatically correct.
Can I suggest Carrie's in the classroom, and the reason being is that it may not be the classroom teacher, it could be a substitute teacher, a special education teacher, so
Could be
maybe
a
just
service
in-
provider.
Service provider, so if it's,
Don't care what you change
Okay.
it to, it just
In.
needed to be changed
okay,
prior
In.
to.
So that can be just changed in the words.
Just
I
say
think.
like as edited, or
there you
as
go.
the suggested
I
edits.
do have another.
Oh, sorry.
Number 1, the wording there as well, number 1 under the required supervision, because I noticed there's lots of number 1s on the page. Regular teacher consultation with the classroom teacher. So I'm wondering, can we remove the word teacher after
first-
regular
first
teacher
teacher.
the
Yep.
first teacher, and just say regular consultation?
Yep,
Does that
yep, that's fine.
still say the same message?
Yep, it's fine.
Both of those seem, I think, a
Yep.
motion and second. Do you have any real issues with those two minor changes?
No? Oh, sorry.
Carrie does not, just so you know.
I'm good.
But the motion and the second, Kyle, are you sure?
That's positive.
Okay. So the motion and second don't have any issues with those minor changes. So, any other further discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor with the
Unanimous?
suggested changes is unanimous, I believe.
Yep.
Jenny is always gonna hit or miss for me.
Yes, and students do, yes. I do keep track.
All right. That takes us to 8.3 or whatever it is.
Yep.
And which is approval of the 2025-26 school closing procedures after we've had our first one with modifications.
Mm-hmm.
We learned a lesson, so what did we learn?
Do you want to take a motion first?
Nah, not really. All right, do we have a motion? Kyle?
Thank you, Kyle.
Crystal? Crystal second.
Okay.
She tried to be, but it was close.
So I'm gonna say out loud that Wednesday morning was not my finest hour. I got thrown off because I didn't expect Wednesday morning to be a problem. And then in consultation with the road crews, Wednesday morning was a problem. And then I forgot that it was a Wednesday release. So there were a lot of issues happening for me on Wednesday morning at 4:30. So take responsibility. We called a 1 hour release. Like we don't have 1 hour early releases, but when
Late
I realized, called the 1 hour delay, which is not something that's part of our procedure. But then we had anyway, here's what we're gonna do. When we have a delayed start on a Wednesday, we will cancel the early release and just have a regular day after the delayed start. So that it's not like kids show up 2 hours late, 1 hour, they're in school for like 2 hours. We'll have time to like have them eat while they're walking down the hall. So if there is a delay on a Wednesday, there will be no early release. We will have a regular dismissal time is what we've all agreed to.
What would be the half day, right?
Yeah, but even like worse because it's not planned, like it would be a completely useless day of school. Like it would be frustrating, like it would just be really difficult. Would you like to,
Yeah.
if we had arrived 2 hours late on Wednesday and then left 1 hour early, like.
Our class was in like 35 minutes.
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
That's enough to get everyone settled, do like one thing and then get right to dismissal.
Yeah, yeah. So, so as I was reminded by the principals very gently this morning, we had discussed this when we first did the early release, and I just forgot. And then 4:30 on Wednesday morning, my brain could not function appropriately. So that is what we will do from now on. If we have to do a delay, there will be no early release.
So if we have a 2 hour delay.
Same, it'll just be a regular, no matter what kind of delay we have, Wednesday, if it's on a Wednesday, Wednesday will end at a regular time. There will be no early release. Period.
Period.
And you'll say it in your recorded message too.
Yes,
Period.
there will be no early release, and I'm now like working on my newsletter to make sure, staff's gonna get the message, parents, everybody's gonna get the message. Yeah.
That's one of my concerns, is that there's automatically, everybody's trained themselves and their sitting services for that early release day.
Yeah, I learned this lesson in my previous district and I forgot the lesson, and it becomes routine, like people just know that Wednesday becomes a normal day, once it happens a couple times, so.
Well, might not happen again,
Oh, you know what? There's always that.
or next week. So,
Every Wednesday for the next month. Now we've cursed ourselves.
all right, so, is that
So the
not part
highlighted
of?
part is the part that got added today after we had our ed leadership meeting.
Okay,
And
so
they
the
all
yellow
reminded me
highlight.
that we'd already talked about it and I'd just forgotten.
Color,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Given that the early release is to facilitate
Yeah.
faculty getting important work done,
Yep.
I assume that should we suffer a lot of bad weather Wednesdays, that there will be some contingency for getting that work done some other way?
Yes, but it won't be great, like it won't, like people counting on that time, and so losing it on a regular basis would be problematic, but there's really nowhere else. Like it may change your staff meeting, you may change a staff meeting agenda to cover something that you were gonna cover because you can't really not do it. So it'll just be, principals will just be juggling those agendas and prioritizing to fit it in for things that they really can't skip. Or you may just skip it. If it's like at the high school and the middle school, they're doing their regular bar meetings, so they're talking about students, so they just won't do that for a week. And they'll just do it the next week, and that's all that really can be done. But it's not great to have it happen a bunch of times, having lived through that.
So on this, it says 2-hour delay, so we'll just go like 1 dash.
No, because we don't actually do a 1-hour delay here, which was told to me when I arrived here, and I have followed that rule religiously until Wednesday.
So we're 2 hour only.
So we do 2-hour delay as the only option until I went
That was
rogue
a
and
compromise
just made up rules on Wednesday.
that I was involved with. That was a compromise. We used to not do delays.
Yes, which is bad.
We used to just either cancel or not.
Yeah,
That was fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, I made up rules Wednesday morning, and so we're just recommitting to the rules.
All right. So what you have written in front of you is actually how it is with the modification.
And
We
just a
have a-
reminder, there's personal phone numbers on there, you can't be like flinging this paper around.
So in other words, don't put it in front of the eagle too much. So, at the owl.
The owl, not
The
the
eagle.
eagle.
I upgraded it. It's an eagle now. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing? Okay, just curious. All those in favor?
Come on.
Okay, can I have those back since it does have phone numbers on them? I'll collect them, thank you. And next time, when something like this happens, you won't have to hand it in and we won't have wasted the paper because it'll be on your computer.
With the color.
We'll see how
And
that
it'll be in
goes.
color.
We'll see how that goes.
Because
There'll have to be a
I
vote.
know, but there were people.
Yeah, don't you guys be taking pictures of me, so Mr. Shaw's cell phone number.
It didn't do me any good on Wednesday, so.
All right. Is that everything?
Yes, so we need a motion to go into executive
Yeah,
session.
I was assuming there's nothing else.
No,
to
no, we took care of it all.
All right. So, thank you folks for coming. We're now looking for a motion to go to an executive session, and we'll only have executive sessions from this point on. So, I am looking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss acquisition of property pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056C.
Good at that.
We got a move by
Joe?
Joe, second by Kyle, saying hi to me. All those in favor?
Okay, great.
Unanimous. Where are we going?
Library.
Library.
Because then you guys will be there for a while.